Press cross button.
Thirsty for the truth? Wet your whistle with Claire Waters. Mary Kelly is not your friend. She may sway the paid press with staged photo ops at this immigration centre or that food bank. She may leverage her Irish heritage to claim some empathy with refugees, but make no mistake, Mother Mary, London's
This is London Calling. You're here with me, Tash, the Buccaneer, your source for what they don't want you to know. In today's world, we've all had to get used to our every move being tracked by the optics, the cameras around us, and with every click we make online. Seems like everything we do is the big data big. Why are those guys that do so hungry to hold their private information? And what are they using? Will we ever have real private lives again? What is privacy in a digital world? And what happens when capitalism and surveillance become one? Speaking from a historic location, here's new technology such as your
Fuck, this bastard's heavy. How the hell are you still alive? Shut up! You brought this on yourself. Cross the Kellys and this is what you get. Oh, Jesus.
is collected on citizens in every possible way. Data is collected through surveillance cameras. Data is collected from television sets. They don't even necessarily need to be super smart television sets. Data is collected from voter records. It's collected from how much power do you use in your house and how much water do you use in your house. In pre-crisis Britain, we got really used to all of our services being free. Everything suddenly became free that was digital. But what people forgot is that if you're not paying for it, then you're the product being sold.
If technology brings out the worst in capitalism, capitalism brings out the worst in technology. Senior academic Alfred tells us how big business
Historically, what's happened, of course, is that people have traded their smartphones and other kinds of technology came in, there's a lot of worry.
You hit no sense resisting. Target's lost.
Don't let the tithead get away.
No fucking.
Not only knowing what we're going to do, but influencing the patterns of our
Come. Listen, you cannot.
Wait, what was that noise?
How's it going, lad? Oh, you know, the same old. Albion's been coming around here again, sticking their nose in where it don't belong. Well, they're asking to get it broken, if you ask me.
You said it.
I didn't realise this was called the Bethnal Green Albion Station. They come here, telling us how to do our job, and giving their critiques like they own the bloody place.
And it's only going to get worse. Yeah, they're already giving the Wapping police station problems, telling people how to drive their boats. Oh, absolutely ridiculous.
Control every aspect of your life. Where you go to hang out with your friends. And what we're seeing now is a contemporary iteration of this process where you get corporations and the state operating in tandem, basically molded into one another. But that isn't that rare. I mean, it's exactly the same thing in Nazi Germany. You look at the concentration camps that operated in Nazi Germany. There were private companies in those camps making use of that slave labor. Fascism often works with corporations, and it's doing the same now. That's the way in which they track what you do. That's the way in which they track who you talk to. They operate as each other's proxies.
Charles is an expert in the dark
Auto drive
arts
now
who
enabled.
worked to set up democratic media in post-communist states. How did it go so wrong in Britain?
You know, we're looking at all the wrong things when we look at Britain's crisis. There's a lot of concentration on data.
Auto drive now disabled.
And manipulated. And what we haven't looked at is the power structures and the profit that lies behind this. For example, if we examine what actually happened, you know, there's a company that's really very interested in selling passports and making it easy to provide visas for investment and so on. And historically, throughout the world, they've been working with this big data manipulation company in order to overthrow governments. And then suddenly all the chickens came home to roost. Nobody could find any receipts for what was paid for. Nobody could figure out how things were done, but everybody had a feeling that something really stunk, and they couldn't figure it out. And yet it was standing there in their face the whole time. So there's a couple of different ways that we got where it is that we are. I mean, one, you have a lot of smaller organizations, smaller power groups, companies as well, who are bending things just a little. Oh, we'll compromise a little bit, we'll bend the rules a little bit, and try to achieve what it is that we hope to.
Can't believe this is happening. Do it again.
All right, let's just say this is physical coordination training. I'll keep track of your score.
Oh, piss off.
I refuse to put up with this.
Ah!
It's unacceptable for me. Seriously, what is going on?
Shit.
I'm not gonna let my blood boil over this. So jolly.
Oh, piss off.
I want a picture with you.
Fantastic!
Ah!
job. Thank you. Yes, left up. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's great. No, keep it up. Absolutely up.
Look at that.
I've had enough of this. These little scribbles that we make, they're not enough. What do?
They denounce the tyranny.
Like fuck they do. Hidden up here, no one gives a fuck about what we have to say. Yeah, it was fine when we didn't know what else to do, but you've seen the news. DedSec is back. They're out there doing real things, taking action.
What? You want to join DedSec now?
I'm not saying that. Well, maybe. Or maybe we can do something similar, help them out, you know? Tell them we're on their side, that Londoners will fight back.
I'm not sure about this.
Of course you're not.
What's that supposed to mean?
Face it, you're lazy. Just like the rest of them. Compliant. I am done being bullied. You should wake the fuck up. Life isn't all glitter and daisies, you know.
Fuck off.
Gladly.
So if your ears are burning and you think someone might be watching you, you're probably right. They're watching all of us. I'm Tash, and you've been listening to Buccaneer. Keep listening, keep sharing the show, and keep it encrypted. They're watching us, but we're watching them.
I love a bit of fun. When you run
I thought we warned you about trespassing, yeah?
That's right. Didn't learn your lesson, huh?
Please, I was just taking a picture of the exterior for...
Oh, did you hear that, mate? He was taking a picture. A bloody picture! Now listen here, you knob. This is going to be our final warning to you. If we ever see you coming around here again, the police are going to have to put out a missing persons report. And I think you know...
Kind of a countercultural punk ethos. The whole point of the distributed ledger is you're not trusting any one person to keep a track of who has what money or how they're spending it. It's all out there in the open for anyone to see, and yet you can remain secretive.
But not everybody now wants to keep up this crypto legacy. They don't share this attitude anymore. We've seen institutions, businesses, even governments experimenting with crypto, which doesn't really fit into its original radical counterculture mold.
Yeah, it's kind of weird today to think of people not using cryptocurrency. It's so mainstream now. You know, I'm almost nostalgic for the feel of cash. Good old-fashioned paper and coins. First they changed the paper notes to plastic notes, and now it's just all digital. There's nothing to hold on to.
It was great just to be able to have a little bit of money to carry around with you.
I think the turning point in the UK really came a few years ago when the pound dropped 10% over just one season. People living off grid started using crypto, and just as everyone was losing faith in the pound, they were gaining in cryptocurrency.
To whom it may concern, Oh, sod it, look, this isn't working. I'll just talk normally, all right? You know who I am. I'm here to help. Noticed a young lass, very clever one. She comes to mass sometimes. See her with her folks. Her name's Emily Colbert. Found her in the Obelisk Tower last Sunday. No clue how she got there, but she was very cheeky about it when I told her to leave. She's got real potential. Look her up, Ded. You know who I mean.
They just made it free and flooded the streets with these devices. Suddenly everyone had them.
If there's this great option of tech, people are just going to start using it, no matter the cost.
Parliament actually tried to put a stop to the cash points, but people were using them so much already. There was outrage. I mean, some parts of London were already using crypto as their primary currency like that, and now a pound, or at least in theory, crypto is illegal. Yeah, in May this year, economists found that crypto traded more than the pound, and banks were not happy. They basically forced
Auto
the
drive
government
now
to ban
enabled.
cryptocurrency in a last-ditch effort to save the pound.
But it's not like that's worked. People are still using crypto.
Auto
and it's
drive
been
now
pushed further,
disabled.
deeper underground. Things used to work fine with crypto, and it was just a peer-to-peer sharing economy-style system. Now it's all on the dark web and wrapped up again in organised crime.
Yeah, if you want to make something thrive on the black market, just make it illegal.
Rents and housing prices have risen steeply and the ranks of the homeless grows daily. Many argue that housing reform drags because MPs are often landlords themselves. Join us tonight at GBB to learn the facts.
You're listening to The Bug.
Nibbling away on the rotting carpet of a one-free Britain.
Hello, this is The Bug, keeping the fire paper alive and the vacuum of today's Britain.
Alex, hold the front page. Technology apparently is here to stay. There's no way around that now. Much as I'd like to go back to the 18th century and see if we can have another crack at the Industrial Revolution and get it less wrong this time. But new tech is creating 4,000 jobs. Count them all, 4,000. 4,000 new jobs, thanks to this new tech investment.
I mean, that's a very exciting thing if you're someone who wants to work in the tech sector, but I can only assume that this tech investment has created 4,000 jobs that will immediately be taken by robots.
Even if they're not, there'll be jobs that no one in their right frame of mind will actually want to do.
The way technology is taking over
For everything, because, mate, and if you had an automated Prime Minister, you could program it to be occasionally in the goddamn country. So that's, again, a step forward.
Again, I insist that there's never been a Prime Minister, Andy. I've never seen him, I've never heard of him. The only time I ever
Right, we definitely don't have anything more important to do.
Shit. Shit. Ah. Oh, fuck yeah. Child's play, innit?
According to Bloom, the optic is now the most secure it's ever been. And, well, of course, I mean, it's so convenient, optic, isn't it? It saves us so much time and hassle trying to exist in a kind of realm of reality. We don't even need to bother with that. I mean, sure, the government has hacked into my soul and now basically monitors my every waking moment and thought. But at least I don't have to type, where's my nearest optic office? And at least I'm not frittering away my precious mental energies thinking, what do I actually think?
Optic is so secure, Andy. It's more secure than a teenage girl reading a women's magazine. It's more secure than a comedian with a drinking problem. It's more secure than a young man who's just got his first motorcycle license.
Finally, before we go today, bug off to the Prime Minister, who has once again FRO'd to who knows where this week. He sure as hell is not here in London. I remember back in the day, Alice, when our Prime Ministers were either incompetent or crooked, but not both at once. But actually, no, I can remember them being both at once. But incompetent, crooked, and not even in the country. That is one impressive triple whammy. I've had lions longer than his longest spell on British soil in this last year. It's this halfway house I can't stand. Either come back and do your job, or leave the planet entirely. I'm pretty sure there must be a spare space station knocking around where he can go and entertain himself for the rest of the time. Can we crowdfund it? Tell you, let's make a cryptocurrency out of something and crowdfund it that way. What have we got spare? Jelly beans? Are they still there?
He's away so often, Andy. I'm starting to think he doesn't like the country.
That is all from the bunker today. Fly away, bugs. We are done.
You're listening to The Bug.
Nibbling away on the rotting carcass of a once-free Britain. Hello, Resistors. This is The Bug, and on today's show, Alice and I will be looking at the big questions, such as, are we less than 2 years away from being able to turn a sausage back into a live pig? Did we actually need polar bears anyway? What do they really do? If I put Optic on my dog, can I train it to take itself for a walk and do my shopping on the way home? And is tennis real? But first... It's a question that no one's really addressed of late. London is going to be safer than ever, Alice. SIRS is installing thousands of additional CCTV cameras. So nice there. Still looking at us.
Yeah, it puts a lot of fun into my life now. I get to play this role-play game where I pretend to know my loved ones better than some twat behind a screen in the SIRS headquarters.
I mean, I guess we shouldn't have complained. I mean, SIRS really just stepping into the vacancy left when it became patently obvious that God had retired. We think that similarities, omnipresent, omniscient, judgmental, stripping away your finances and freedoms, dishing out random punishments, peas in a pod. All it needs to do, sir, is ban me from eating something. What's it going to be this time? Not bacon again, please. Please, not bacon. I couldn't. Courgettes. Ban courgette. I could take you banning courgettes. I'm happy with that.
It makes me feel important knowing that I'm being watched with everything I do, Andy.
Well, it's just not. It's reassuring, isn't it? It's like having an extra aunt.
It's really hard to get songs for Christmas and the kiddie pool, right?
True lasting happiness, find a disused quarry, scream into it for half an hour, and then lock yourself in a shed forever.
Thanks, Bugley. You know the answer to everything.
Hey, Bugley, how many seashells does she sell by the seashore?
Alice, most of the seashore is now uninhabitable, so I would highly recommend she sees her doctor before engaging in any commercial proximity to the ocean.
Bugley,
Auto drive now enabled.
Being disappeared by Clan Kelly every time I go to the shop, or take the bus, or sit on a bench, or look at a tree, or point at a bird, or think about snooker, or get out of bed.
Andy, do not worry.
Please hold still, Alice, while I report you to the authorities.
Bugley, will things ever get better?
Be on alert. A compromised drone is in
That's
your
all from
area.
the Bug today. Keep it real, Bug fans. Actually, that's terrible advice. Keep it as unreal as you can
Control,
possibly
we are
manage.
ready to engage.
Total the target's vehicle.
Rents and housing prices have risen steeply and the ranks of the homeless grows
Auto
daily.
drive now disabled.
Many argue that housing reform drags because MPs are often landlords themselves. Join us tonight at GBB to learn the facts.
Nibbling away on the rotting carcass of a once free Britain.
Control, we are
Hello, Buzz.
unsighted
This
of
is Buzz.
suspects.
I'm Andy,
Over.
this is Alice, and today we're going to be pretending that everything is fine. Yeah, and back. Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? That was as long as I could manage. That's a second and a half. A reality time now.
Control, put out an
what fun
APW.
today. We're
Target
gonna
is
rotate
gone.
the latest update to the CSA app, the government app that has brought the great British tradition of snitching on people you don't like.
Love
back to the
it!
very heart of public life.
That's amazing. I need to get out of this.
Or if you think you might at some point see something, say something, or if you haven't seen anything but don't like someone, say something anyway. Let's have a look at this new app. Alice, I'm sure you've got it on your phone. I mean, at first glance, the interface is lovely. It's so neatly designed. A simple button to snitch on someone. That's so much better than non-government informer apps like Stool Easy, Can Canary, or Narc Shark. I mean, look, I just need to geocache where the person I'm ratting on currently is. Let's call her, for the sake of argument, Alice.
Sorry, Andy, I was busy reporting you to the authorities. Rolling your eyes when passing a Nigel Cass propaganda poster.
Could you not let me report you first, please? Let's have some decorum about it. I'll just take a quick little photo so they can get a drone to pick you out of a crowd at your next ride or trip to the shops or walk in the woods. And you can input your accusations with the app. Let's go old school. Let's call the phone line. Let's call the phone line. Here's the number. So 3832. And don't forget to get the permission of the person who pays your bills before you call that number.
Hey, I'd like to report my co-host Andrew, who runs an underground satirical anti-government comedy show, for running and co-hosting a satirical anti-government.
Well, excuse me, I have a suspect view that my co-host.
Auto drive now enabled.
Some evidence for you. She tutted audibly on the side of an Albion Colonel in the street yesterday. She says she prefers pigeons to blue drones. I mean, come on, seriously, look at the drone and drop it. And what's more, and look, I've no idea if this is true or not, but I have a very good authority, so please write this down, that she owns not one, but two.
Auto drive now disabled.
Whatever they are. They sound dodgy.
If I had a crypto for every time someone had reported my local tubes, I'd have 3. Sure, I think it converts to about 120,000 Great British pounds at the old money.
We'll report back in the next episode about whether or not we've been arrested and interned. I mean, I love this system, Alice. I mean, no more awkward, rumbling resentments with your neighbours, your colleagues, or what the heck, in from petting your family. You just adopt a bit and be done with it. But I guess it could backfire. I mean, the thing is with a family, inevitably parents and their children, they end up squabbling, and, you know, today's Britain, your kids are going to be so you might as well get in there first and bring to the authorities. What's that number again? Let's call them up again. Hey, I've got someone else. It's my son. Let's call him. Every time he's in his bedroom, he gets up late, he listens to illegal non-government sounding music.
Yeah, just define all your household chores as paper.
Problem solved.
If you don't do the washing up, do you even want a clean British anesthetic?
This is the bug on the Buccaneer. Well, before we go today, Alex, let's delve into what we most...
Trivial. Humans are selfish. Not facts. They want to know, will this make my life easier or will it make it harder?
Or if it's just that it symbolises the loss of everything we once held dear. But that flag irritates the hell out of me.
Was everything you ever held dear Scotland?
Well, that was something I held quite dear.
I miss being able to dodge my friends' destination weddings in Italy. There's nothing worse than being asked to spend the equivalent of a motorbike on some sort of boat-based farce in Sorrento, and I always used to really enjoy saying, oh no, I can't afford it. Now they're all getting married in Brighton and I have to go to that alleged beach. It's made of rocks, Andy. If your sandcastle is an actual castle, that's not a beach.
Tell you what I miss. I miss free will. That was fun. Remember that? Who cares? It felt fun. I miss cash, particularly coins. I really miss coins. The fun of doing a heads or tails best of 5 to see if you had to go to the gym, and then the best of 7, the best of 9, and then continue on. Now with crypto, all the romance is gone. Heads and tails.
I miss romance, Andy. I miss there being mystery in life and not just a hope that your new partner isn't good enough at hacking to find out all the information the government has on you.
Bye for now, bug fans. Keep feeding the echidna resistance, and one day it will grow into a Tyrannosaurus Rex that will use the cat family as toothpicks, metaphorically.
Did you know that you're legally required to have your optic working at all times?
Don't put the wash on! I left my phone in it!
Life's full of little accidents. But accident or not, the law requires you to carry a working optic at all times. So it's a good job our engineers have seen most accidents you can think of.
I'll have that working for you again in no time.
Whatever the accident, whatever the problem, Com can keep your optic working and keep you legal. Com Mobile.
Hello and welcome back to The Upload. In this episode, we're talking about CTOS 3.0, the city operating system that's now powering all of London. For those of you who need reminding, as if anyone does at this point, CTOS was first used in Chicago in 2014 and then San Francisco in 2017 before coming here to London. And every time it's been rolled out, it's been pretty much an unmitigated disaster.
For those of you who are listening who are lucky enough not to be here in London's chaotic scenes, it's worth remembering that the telecoms tower is now owned by Bloom. The tower looms over northwest London. It's always been a communications hub, acting as part of the UK's television and communications network, although there's been some secrecy around its use, and now that Bloom owns it, it's only even more secret.
Yeah, now everything that's part of Bloom's city surveillance operation is run through the telecoms tower. And I have to say, it looks completely ridiculous. It's got that silly crown thing at the top and all the blue light.
What's that even about? What does it do? I don't see that there's any purpose to that at all.
It's a blight on the skyline, if you ask me, and it's become the main point of control for millions of people. The System Network and Bagley are both operated and streamed from there too.
And don't forget about the self-driving cars too.
I always thought they were just running on their own.
No, CTOS is the big control system behind the car. There was a point back in the earliest days of self-driving car technology that they operated by themselves. They used to use a series of sensors to see the world around them. Radar, for instance, would look far off into the distance, while LiDAR would detect objects nearby. And while these cars still use some of this technology, Bloom CTOS and its detailed maps and data that it has on London really makes Bloom be able to take control of it. And CTOS can take control of your car if you're parked incorrectly. There's no surprise that it was made mandatory to have a self-driving car.
The system is so bad though, it's so annoying. Whenever I try to use one of the shareable self-driving cars, I always find myself stuck in traffic jams or roadblocks. Not to mention the accidents. I've heard so many stories of cars shunting into the back of others. I think they're worse than human drivers sometimes.
The The technology was meant to make things better, but Bloom has made it so bad that it just makes London even more chaotic than it was before. I'm giving up on the cars. I'm only using the bikes, which are not self-driving, at the moment at least. And don't even get me started on the data. Everything that Bloom sees from your movements around the city and the self-driving cars is collected and feeds back into its big information control system.
Oh, not you and Bloom and privacy again. You're a broken record.
Not as broken as our city's cars.
Times are uncertain, and we live with the constant news of threats. But hasn't that always been the way? This island became great, not because of the good times, but how we dealt with the bad. From tighter border controls to investing in the pound, your government is taking the action needed to keep Britain safe. So when you meet someone who questions what we're doing, it's time for you to ask, why are they so worried? After all, if you've got nothing to hide, you've nothing to fear. SIRS, securing Britain to make things great.
Coming up in today's episode of The Upload, we're talking about how Bagley managed to conquer London. Pretty much my favourite topic. I could talk for hours about the rise of the AI system. It's easy to forget about its origins. It's so present everywhere we go now. Bagley just kind of blends into the background.
Bagley is the service AI that's present in every optic device. Whether you're using an optic, Bagley will be there. The AI is streamed to your optic from Bloom's central command centre, and it was first created by Sky Larson, our tech hero, as part of her techno-utopian idea for the world. Why do you think it grew so quickly?
In my mind, it's no surprise that Bagley became so popular. It's funny, useful, fast. It's a great companion and really just makes life so much easier. I mean, when you look back at all the service AIs that used to exist, they just can't compete. When you ask Bagley anything, there's a quick answer and loads of information available.
One day, I let Bagley answer all of my messages for a whole 24 hours, and you won't even notice.
can do it the easy way, or you can get put down. Your choice. You're my fucking hero.
They've been knocked out cold.
Oh my God.
What in the blazes happened here?
Ah, shit.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Please! Please! Shh! This can't be happening! Oh my god!
Will you shut the fuck up? Shh. Did you hear that? Stop firing.
You're right, I don't hear anything.
Wait! I think...
Oh, fuck, they're coming!
No!
Shit, they've been put back to sleep.
Straight online.
Don't come stepping up to me. I'm sending you straight to hospital. You're fucking dead. Don't come stepping up to me. Come on, then. Don't come stepping up to me. I'm sending you straight to hospital. Come on, then. You're fucking dead. Don't come stepping up to me. You're fucking dead.
I'm putting an end to this.
Let's clean up this
Over.
fucking mess.
Control, we have an officer down.
Received. Moving to intercept.
Let's dance.
Trace of the original Britain left, but some quackish lunatics insist it actually works better that way. It's total bullshit. Is there anything left? New on the bug this week, a new feature, the Bug Off feature. The person who was most irritating us in Britain this week was
Received. Returning to HQ.
To get things going, I'm going to nominate Big Nigel Castle. This is Britain. History tells us this place is a bastion of freedom. I'm just not sure that that kind of freedom should involve Big Nigel expressing his freedom to run a private army. I guess, historically, there is a precedent. The East India Company. That was a trading house with an army of 250,000 soldiers, which is a lot for a company. The Buck PLC has Alice with a water pistol. But crucially, compared with Albion, the East India Company didn't operate its 250,000 strong army in London. It did it a long way away, out of sight, out of mind. Anyone to nominate for the bug off, Alice?
I think today's bug off for me goes to my streaming service. I'm sick of being recommended things based on things I already like. The other day it recommended me to watch a reality TV companion dating show set in a nude commune. Andy, I watched it and I liked it, and I do not want to be the kind of
person who enjoys nude competitive reality television dating shows. I did not want to know that about myself. I have to go sit in the corner and cry.
That's it from the bug. Don't forget the live show that is so secret it is definitely not happening at the usual time and place this month. Definitely not. And definitely do not tell anyone not to come to it. It's definitely not happening. Usual time and place. Bye-bye.
They hacked it, and, you know, he lost everything.
They said it was safe.
The dealer transferred the funds using cryptocurrency.
They said it was crime-free.
Well, it's new jobs, isn't it? Gotta have new jobs.
They said it was patriotic. They lied. Cryptocurrency. If you can't see it, how can you really trust it?
This is London Calling. You're listening to me, Tash, and Buccaneer, your source for what they don't want you to know. This time we're turning our focus back on the media to look at my former employer, the GBB. As we know, the broadcasting has been through a lot of changes since the Hassani government gave in to pressure from its corporate backers and privatised the corporation. Today, the GBB is a shadow of its former self. It's become a tool used by the government to circulate fake news and misinformation. Our experts speak on conditions of anonymity for their own safety. Here's disinformation and media expert Charles, who's seen free broadcasters built up by journalists and torn down by demagogues all over the world.
So before the media fragmented, there was this voice of authority that was trusted and worthy of trust. Then what we ended up with is a really commercial model where whether you're talking about an app on a smart device or whether you're talking about a broadcaster, the most important thing was to keep you in that environment for the longest amount of time possible. And because that meant money in their pocket. And in order to do that, a couple of things happened. One was the use of manipulative techniques around behavioral economics, things that would just keep you scrolling or keep you listening or keep you looking for more information. The second is that kind of environment favors sensationalism. And so you got more sensational headlines and more sensational stories, and it didn't matter whether they were true or not. It just kept people in and it kept them in the loop. So we ended up in a situation where nobody trusted anything and nobody believed anything at all. And that is the perfect environment for an authoritarian voice to come in and say, no, wait, we are. The ground for this environment really got created when we had suddenly authoritarian politicians everywhere. Anything that threatened them or they disagreed with, they would call it disinformation. That's disinformation, that's fake news. And again, we got in a situation where nobody really believed anything. And the trouble is, if you were telling the truth, it's very hard to get your message to cut through all of the noise of all of the disinformation that's there. So like, you remember Out on the Edges, there was this story about when they would take a house by force, they would take any infants and they would crucify them. And that's a great, fantastic, viral story. But how do you counter that story? With the truth. The only way you can counter it is by saying, no, they didn't. And of course, no one wants to spread that story. No one wants to hear that story. They want to hear the sensationalism. They want to hear how people were victims of violence when in fact they weren't. Or they were victims of insurgent forces when in fact they weren't.
The news isn't neutral, it's a battleground. Here's media researcher and academic Alfie.
Auto drive now enabled.
The media has, of course, been perhaps the key way. But now with the GBB, you're really only seeing one brand of news and therefore only getting one truth. So people end up with a very biased and controlled idea of the reality and the world that we're actually living in. There was, of course, many concerns and many problems, but in a way there were some positive things that, like, not all information was coming from one place, and so you'd have kind of far-right media outlets developing and then left-wing media outlets developing to combat those and kind of challenge the mainstream newspapers, TV stations, radios, and make sure people were questioning the validity and truth of the information they were receiving. So whilst there was the digital afforded more fake information,
Auto drive
it
now
also makes us
disabled.
suspicious and skeptical of information and makes us question the information we're getting. And I think in pre-crisis Britain it might not have seemed great at the time, but there was something positive about that there was a lot of distrust in the media and in the different kinds of truths that were being told. Whereas now I think you're seeing a return to a more traditional and older pre-digital sense, actually, of people just trusting what they're told, and that's why we have to be here with radio stations like this to challenge those conceptions. Most citizens feel pretty hopeless, I think, and unable to fight back against these kind of huge mainstream corporations that simply entrench and support the ideals and ideologies of the state. It can seem very hopeless indeed, but I think, you know, the fact that you're out there listening and we're in here talking shows that there is still a space to combat these false truths and disinformation that's being sold to us, and that it's never possible really to completely shut down, despite all the technologies that they have at their disposal and all the financial and corporate power and all the physical power. It's never quite possible to shut down people's desire to get to the truth and fight for their own ideologies and values, and you know, we're out here starting that task, so don't give up hope.
You've been listening to Buccaneer with me, Tash. What we
drone activity near your location, over.
Control, we are pursuing the suspect.
This is London Calling. You're listening to Buccaneer, your source for what they don't need to know. With me, Tash. It's hard to believe that there could be shortages of food and medicine in an advanced country like ours. And yet,
No sign of the target. Over.
those old government promises of adequate food turned out to be just another lie. Today we're short of basic foodstuffs and vital medical supplies. Hundreds have already died of conditions that can be easily cured.
Control,
The
we're
black
returning
market
to
means
HQ.
criminal gangs
Over.
like Clan Kelly run our cities. And Prime Minister Dev Dasani isn't even around to pretend to care. How do we go?